Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be running through everything that we're looking forward to seeing on Disney Plus in April, because we've got lots of news regarding the US launch, also Canada. We've also got the UK list as well, so we've got loads of stuff, and there's loads of things within that list that we want to talk about as we're going along. We'll also be going into a deep dive into the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and talking about some other bits and pieces as well. So before we get into any of that, quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you are subscribed on the YouTube channel. You can also subscribe on audio platforms to this podcast. Also, some other housekeeping as well. Just a big thank you to all of our patrons and channel members for making this possible. Every single month, it makes a massive difference. So a big thank you to our patrons at the Go tier and above, including Sarah, who's at the Diamond level. So a huge thank you for that one. So Platinum level. Andrew, Jacob, Caleb, Red Marsman, Andrew, Chris, Cody, Darren, Giuseppe. We've also got Lester, Lauren, James, and What's on Netflix. While over on YouTube, we have got Beanie, Bad Dog Gamer, Joshua, Amit, Ben, Adam, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. So thank you for all of your support. Again, we'll be doing another live chat on Q&A session on Sunday night. And tomorrow we've got a special video going up with our retro review. And I'm just trying to think which one that is. We've got one. I'm trying to think we got quite a lot coming up, so there'll be an extra episode tomorrow. Right, let's jump into it. So we got all the lists for everything coming in April, and what a packed month it is. April, especially for the US and really kind of in Canada as well, Disney seemed to have really dived into the back catalog a little bit. We know there's been a lot of complaints from a lot of people online about the lack of legacy content going up on Disney Plus lately. It kind of really dried up. I mean, we were getting to the point where there was only a few items a month going on to Disney Plus in the US. It was very light. You know, we started getting things like The Muppet Show last month, and we've had, Dog in the Box. There's been a few things, but this upcoming month, they seem to have really gone, right, what have we got? What can we do? What can we put on there? And just quite a big lineup, didn't you? What kind of stood out to you?
Over the entire, why don't we go through the list, because there's a lot, and we'll be talking about them twice. But I will say it does seem like there may have been some sort of launch that was taking up their resources, perhaps an international launch of some sort. And now that the launch is kind of
hold on, I don't know which one.
all of them, all the balloons.
You
now go ahead.
You're right. The actual maybe the US teams were working on getting the star stuff ready, and that was what was distracting them from getting so much on there. But you would have thought that would have been a different team, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was all part of the same one.
It might be. And this is total speculation. It might be that they decided to take the opportunity, since they were pulling all those back catalog items anyway off of Hulu, or from Hulu, I should say.
Yeah.
That they were preparing them for the English, for the American Disney Plus 2, even though they're not going to use it for a long time. And we're assuming that at some point there will be a merger. But it makes sense if they're going to convert those files anyway to Disney Plus in the European and Asian markets, and South American market, they might as well get them ready for the North American market as well. But that's speculation. And in any event, as you said, April's got a ton of stuff. So if we don't start now, we're going to be here for a couple hours.
Yes, right. Okay, so this is for April the 2nd. For the US, we've got a couple of new episodes of Secrets of Sulphur Springs dropping throughout the month. We then got Walk the Plank. I keep want to say Walk the Plank, but it's Walk the Prank, seasons 1 to 3. Higgletown Heroes, The Island at the Top of the World, Third Man on the Mountain, The Last Ice, Made in a Day, Secrets of the Zoo, season 4. With Secrets of Zoom is not really something for right now. Sharks of Bermuda Triangle, The Big Year, Night at the Museum, Battle of Smithsonian. Then we're going to get into some Star Wars stuff. So we're getting Caravan of Courage, Ewoks, Battle of Endor, Star Wars The Clone Wars Volume 1 and 2, Star Wars Ewoks, and Star Wars Ewoks 2. Before we jump into all the Star Wars content will be arriving in the UK. In Canada, pretty much most of that is arriving as well. A few things aren't there, but generally, what really got us there was the Star Wars stuff. I mean, that was a very deep cut.
Especially the Ewok stuff. I know people have asked for it, so it's not entirely out there, but we weren't expecting it. And if we were going to expect it, I would have thought like May 4th, right?
It really
Somewhere around there.
doesn't. It seems like it's a month early. I mean, I don't know why
Yeah.
they're going with April the 2nd rather than not putting it on the first week of. Maybe they didn't want to overshadow Bad Batch debut, or didn't want to
I,
highlight it. I don't.
I
It's a very weird, and they didn't do a press announcement for this because I would imagine maybe it's great that it's on there. I mean, we think we're only really missing like droids. I mean, there's not really much left after this to go. I, being a kid of the 80s, I grew up watching these Ewoks TV series, watched the movies, loved Return of the Jedi. So I was probably about 5 or 6 when these shows started coming out. So I was probably right on that age of where Ewoks were all over they were all over television. So therefore I was right at that age where it didn't know any different, and so I don't have this. I grew up with Ewoks, and I used to have loads of action figures and soft toys and stuff. So I get it. I don't really want to go back. We're probably going to end up watching the 2 movies, I suspect, at some point over the next few months. But yeah, it's a bit like, this is kind of like bare bones Star Wars. It's a bit.
Of the Ewoks, other than Return of the Jedi, I think the only one I've seen was Caravan of Courage. I've never seen the Battle of Endor, and I've never seen the cartoon series. So I'll probably at least watch the movies. I might try the cartoon, but I suspect it's not going to have aged well. That said, speaking of cartoon series, they're also dropping in the Clone Wars hand-drawn animated cartoon series, and I know a lot of people have been looking forward to that. It's a very different style than the Clone Wars cartoon that you're used to. Much more action heavy, story light, much shorter. The early ones are only like 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to be interested in seeing those, though.
Yeah, I've never seen them, and in all honesty, I don't think I was even aware of them until people started asking on the Facebook group all the time about them, and I was like, okay, I didn't even realize this existed. So it's just nice that they're starting to, again, hopefully as well, they're just looking at some of the stuff that they can put on that they've maybe got in a higher quality that they can use. The fact that it's coming to all the regions, I did have, while it wasn't on the official UK list, I did have a note from publicist the day before that confirming that they were coming as well. So that was definitely great, because there was so many. Because at first it was like, it's coming to the US, and then everyone's going, what about every other country? It's like, it's never worked that way, of where we got them all really close together. But usually it was we wouldn't find out the UK or the Australian list for weeks. We found out in a matter of like 36 hours the whole lot. So it was a nice change. But it's really nice to now have them all confirmed. But Disney didn't put out any, there wasn't even anything on StarWars.com. There was nothing on social media. It was just it's almost on the lines of, we know you want it, but we really don't want you to watch it.
Yeah. It's there, but we're not going to make a big deal about it. Now, for these ones, though, I was actually thinking they might have announced these in April or for an April release because they didn't want them to get buried by May the 4th content, whatever's coming. Obviously the Bad Batch, but we're always expecting news and other things, and the video games will have events and so on. So for whatever reason, like, no, let's get these out of the way so people don't miss the fact that we've got the new Clone Wars and Ewoks and stuff like that.
It's kind of weird.
It's just weird.
Because there's not really normally we don't get a lot of Star Wars content, and I wasn't expecting a lot, but there's almost, maybe they were like, okay, like April's got nothing Star Wars at all. There's nothing new for them at all. So I would have been quite happy with them if they just dropped one of these. That would have been a big one. But nice to see them on there. But yeah, for that first week in the US, just looking here at some of the stuff coming to Canada as well. We've got Alita Battle Angel that week. Feud, Bet and Joan, and Alita Battle Angel is a really good movie. We've also Canada is getting new episodes of the 3rd season of Grownish. They're going to be dropping every week from the first week of April, so that'll be running for a few months. The UK will be getting them at the end of April. They'll be starting to have the weekly rollout. Not sure why they couldn't line them up, but that's always an issue. The Secret Life of American Teenagers, seasons 1 to 5, and Tolkien will be coming to Canada as well. Well, over in the UK, a bit more complicated on how they've done the thing. So let's just have a look here. So we're getting the Two Father of the Bride movies. We're getting The Help. There's also going to be getting just put up here what what we're going to be getting here. Oh, Romeo and Juliet. Now, the interesting thing with Romeo and Juliet is that actually wasn't distributed by Disney. It was, so I don't know if they've actually brought the rights to that one, which could be interesting to see how this is all going to start working out. And then we're going to be getting the Myra Royal Detective. And yeah, so that's pretty much most of it. And we'll be getting, as I said, all of the normal Star originals dropping as well. So now let's jump into, I'm just going to bring up the UK list, because it's really weird how every like department kind of releases their information slightly differently. So we're getting obviously lots of new episodes of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be dropping right through the month, and Mighty Ducks will be dropping every week right through the April as well. So that's kind of quite a nice. Just those two shows alone would have been quite a nice thing. Bob's Burger seasons 1 to 10 will be coming to the UK. Running Wild with Bear Grylls, year 9 of Wicked Tuna, and yeah, so that's quite a nice lineup. But to me, just getting the Mighty Ducks and the Winter Soldier a week, and then having all of the Star originals, it's really very quickly becoming quite a thing of like we're having like 8 to 9 seasons of shows dropping per week in the UK and Canada and Australia, whereas obviously in the US is a bit less. But it's amazing how much of a difference that makes to that lineup. You know, the UK now is having 2 pages drop every single when they do their social media. But I mean, we were like, you know, some weeks we were having 1. It was just like it's such a big difference. So from that first week, what's kind of jumping out to you?
Well, you know, I've actually never seen the Night at the Museum movies, any of them. So I'll probably check those out. At least give the first one a shot and then go from there. And of course, I love sharks and whales. So Sharks of the Bermuda Triangle is going to be pretty big for me. And then obviously Falcon, Winter Soldier, Mighty Ducks. We're not going to say that every single time, but it does bear mentioning.
Yes. Right. Okay. Moving now on to the 9th of April. As I said, we'll be getting Mighty Ducks, Game Changers, etc. Right. Okay, so we're getting Disney Futurama. That'll be coming to the US and Canada. Kit Kabowski, Suburban Daredevil, seasons 1 to 2, again, US and Canada. The finale of Secrets of Sulphur Springs. The US and Canada will also be getting both Man of the House, Mark Twain and Me, Squanto, A Warrior's Tale, and Caesar Milan, A Real Story. So again, Mark Twain and Me, a real ode. That's quite a dig into the archive. And Caesar Milan, I've seen him pop up in a few things, but he's not really, I would say, a huge thing over here in the UK.
I think he's famous as like a dog whisperer kind of deal, right? Yeah, I'm familiar with the name, but I have not watched any of his shows or specials or anything.
Yeah, obviously as well with the Star Originals, we'll be getting Love Victor. I think we're on to like every episode 9 of there, and Hellstrom, and also we'll be getting Solar Opposites. Now, the interesting thing with Solar Opposites is season 1 ends on the 2nd of April. The good news is the UK and Canada is going to be getting the 2nd season of Solar Opposites on April the 9th, which is about 2 weeks after the US gets it with Hulu. But unfortunately, they're getting it we're getting it weekly. So rather than them getting the whole lot at one go, we're still carrying on with the weekly thing. So I think it's great that we are getting it straight after season 1. So I think that is, I have to give them credit for doing that, because it's not like, oh, well, we'll keep it 6. No, they are actually going to roll straight into it. But it's a little bit like, okay, so America gets all at once, but we've got to wait weekly. Personally, for me, I do like the weekly drop because I'm really enjoying that series. I'm watching it each week, and one episode. I think if I was able to binge it, I might get bored of it. But I think the short episodes is keeping me kind of engaged. But it's really nice to see Solar Opposites dropping as a Star original. Moving on from there,
it does seem like they're kind of signaling Hulu will maintain its current, everything drops at once pattern, whereas they really do want to move to the weekly drop for everything. They just can't do it with Hulu because it's been that way since launch, and I think people will get upset.
I think they will start doing it with some of their big Hulu originals. I think they are going to start doing it. Things like Dope Sick and things like that are all going to. I think they will start doing it. I think it's just if it's aimed at a younger audience, they'll maybe shift more for the drop. Whereas if it's slightly older audience, they can go for the weekly thing. But yeah, so there we go. So Canada's also getting Alvin and the Chipmunks Shipwrecked, and the sequel. And over in the UK, we'll be getting, as far as the the originals, getting a brand new Star original called Filthy Rich, which aired on Fox last year. It unfortunately got cancelled, so they're still going to be dropping it weekly because it hadn't arrived in the UK before. I think in Canada it was actually already aired, so that's why it's not coming to Canada, because it's already there. A bit of an odd one. So it's all about a unknown heir of a wealthy southern businessman hatches a plan to get a piece of their fortune. And we're also getting seasons 1 to 15 of Criminal Minds, which is one of the most popular shows on Netflix. And when you look at the Nelson Weekly chart, Criminal Minds is really popular. That one's already available in Canada and is doing very well. Season 16 of Grey's Anatomy, Dangerous Minds. And good news for UK folk, really good. Dinosaurs is coming. This one was one of those weird things where Dinosaurs didn't come in February when everybody else got it for some reason. Nobody knew why. No one could find out anyway. And then they put out the release and it didn't have it on there. I then asked, they then came back to me and said, no, it is there. They redid the sheet. The 9th. This is big news. This is just every time something gets announced in the UK, it's like, where's Dinosaurs? Where's Dinosaurs? Because it's almost that thing of everyone else got to see it, but the UK didn't for some bizarre reason. So the Dinosaurs are coming to the UK next month, which I did watch a few episodes when they dropped onto the US Disney Plus, and it was like, I think I watched like the first, middle, and the end. I was like, yeah, that's it. I don't need to watch all 4 seasons. I kind of caught up, got the nostalgia bit. I was like, yeah, it's not what I remembered it. Then,
I have not watched it since it launched or relaunched, I should say. But I strongly suspect that your experience in general, not you specifically, but watching it as a child and watching it as an adult are very, very different, because it is one of those shows that appeals to both audiences, but for different reasons.
Yeah, there's a lot of little jokes in there for adults, which I hadn't anticipated. So what's kind of stood out for you and to be coming in on that second week of April?
Actually, to be honest, not that much. Like a lot of the things on the American list, I'm like, I don't know what Future Worm is. I don't know what Suburban Daredevil is.
Well, those two had actually been stuck on Hulu for a while. There's been like 5 Disney XD shows that have been stuck on Hulu that couldn't leave. And these are like some of the first ones to start going. And I expect the other ones will be going at some point soon. It was just very strange they weren't available on Disney Plus because they had them all on Hulu. But the other movies I have never seen. I think I've seen The Man of the House. But Mark Twain and Squanto, I've got like not really any interest in. I mean, just watching the trailers back the other day when they got announced just to see what they were going. Oh,
okay. I strongly suspect that we're looking at a couple movies this week that probably have not aged well, and another one dropping in the following week in April 16th. A quiet week. This will be a week of Mighty Ducks and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and catching up on some back catalog items that were dropped before this week, I think.
Right, then on Friday the 18th, Friday the April the 16th, we'll have obviously Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Mighty Ducks, but also Big Shot, another new drama series, all with John Stamos becoming a basketball coach. Why we need Mighty Ducks and Big Shot at the same time, I'm not really convinced that was a good planning. We're about two older college. To me it sounds like, why are we having the two at the same time? Seems like they're a bit similar.
Yeah, obviously we haven't seen Big Shot yet, but the trailers suggest that it's following a very similar story, and kids sports do tend to follow the same trajectory in terms of storytelling. So I have to agree with you on that. It's are they thinking that there's a lot of people who wouldn't watch the Mighty Ducks but would watch Big Shot because it's basketball instead of hockey? I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I definitely would have split these two out. Maybe even have Big Shot start immediately after Mighty Ducks ends or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just great. I mean, 3 series all dropping within, all on the same week. I mean, that's quite a big one. I mean,
just definitely.
Not seen that before. Also coming to the US the same week is Treasure Buddies. Then we've got a new National Geographic documentary, Earth Moods, that'll be coming everywhere. That will be a new Disney Plus original, which is kind of like a peaceful, tranquil music over beautiful scenery. And each episode, there's like 5 episodes. This will be volume 1. And like one's cities, one's desert, one's ice, one's water, etc. Very peaceful, very kind of, if you like the there's animation, and if you like the kind of, maybe like the dolphin reef, and you just want something on in the background, just kind of to soothe you, that'll be for you. Sounds pretty cool. Also, we're getting in the US White Fang 2 Myth of White Wolf, because that will also be coming in Canada, and it will be coming a little bit later at the end of the month in the UK. And then Primal Survivor Season 5, and The Kid Who Would Be King. That'll be coming to Canada as well, as will Rio. We're starting to see some of the 20th Century Studio stuff, but The Kid Who Would Be King, that's kind of like one of the first 2019 movies starting to drop down onto Disney Plus in the US, which I think is definitely interesting, because it's the first one that's kind of cycled through the HBO deal onto Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I remember actually wanting to see this, not like super excited for it, but yeah, I'll catch it when it becomes available easily. So this will probably be the shot at doing it. I seem to remember it did acceptably I'm not expecting much from it, but it might be just a kind of a fun movie to watch.
Compared to box offices now, it did amazing.
Well, yes. Yeah,
that's one way of, they can spin it anyway. Oh yeah, they did a lot better. So that's definitely a good one to arrive. Funny thing as well with like Rio is they actually ended up putting that one and Night in the Museum up onto Disney Plus and changed the date to when it was arriving. So we kind of knew them a couple of days beforehand, which was like the first time they really started doing that. So whether or not they're going to start doing that, or if it was just they were in the system and they did something with it, but it was a little bit of a note on that one there. Looking over to Canada for some other content. Season 16 of American Dad. There'll also be, as I said, Rio 2. They'll be getting both Rio movies, which is always nice. They'll be getting pretty much all the same movies as the US, and yeah, that's pretty much it from them. While over in the UK, we have got. Have we got anything different? Oh yeah, we got Next, Dollface, Filthy Rich. Plus we got the finale of Love Victor and Hellstrom, which also that'll be the same thing for Canada and Australia as well. Big Sky will carry on. For some reason, Canada doesn't get that one. And then we're getting 2 seasons of Grownish, seasons 1 and 2. Baby's Day Out, The Big Year, and Predators. So that's the first of the Predator movies.
It's a bit of a tone shift from the rest of the list.
This is the thing now with Star, is it really does just you just go from Baby's Day Out, Predators. You don't even like cut a breath of like how it is all there. And it's like today it was just so funny, like Disney Plus's Italian social media pages put up a picture of like Borat going like this, and it's just like it is, it's just all integrated, and it is great. It only makes a much more interesting service. But what kind of jumps out at you from this one?
So I'm actually looking forward to that. What was it called? Earth Moods.
Yeah.
You call it a documentary. It sounds like it's more like ambient background noise.
Yeah, ambient kind of thing. Yeah.
Which I dig. I enjoyed this animation. I wish they were longer because by the time you start to kind of let it sink into the background, it's done because it's only a handful of minutes long. They did not announce, as far as I know, how long each of the Earth Moods are. But if they can make those a bit longer, maybe stretch them out to an hour or something, that'd be really good to have up on, it's something out of your peripheral vision while you're working or something like that.
Well, I mean,
we'll see how they do.
As that kind of thing, as I said, most of us working from home, you've got your TV on, I like, sometimes like having music on, but just having something like that on just to kind of break that silence kind of thing. I mean, I obviously, nature is beautiful, cityscapes, even cities can be beautiful in how they look. So I'm going to be checking these out. It depends how they are and stuff, but it's just nice to have some choice. It's just nice to have something different. Whether or not they just put a drone over a desert, I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that, or they've just put together a lot of footage that they maybe had in the background. That's what I'd imagine.
See, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Since this is National Geographic, this is probably a lot of B-roll footage that just didn't get used. I mean, they're known for their footage, so they've probably got a lot.
Say for example, like Secret of the Whales that's coming up in a couple of weeks, in about a month's time. They're shooting over all of if they were shooting over New Zealand while they were filming it, or they were then filming it, in like South Africa or something, they're going to have all that footage of them just flying around, not necessarily sort of, but also more importantly, they could just film it all at the same time. I do wonder if the drones as well, as really drones seem to have really been able to make this a lot more easier because they're a lot more stable than helicopters.
Well, stable and cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's using them. So yeah, so there we go. So that is Friday 18th, April 16th. Funny with White Fang 2, we actually just watched White Fang 1. It's one of this month's retro club reviews. So it's kind of funny. I've gone, oh, okay, I at least get that one now because I had not seen the movie. So at least acknowledge the fact of what that one is. Okay, moving on from there. So for Earth Day on April 22nd, everyone will be getting Secrets of the Whales. There'll be 4 episodes dropping with Sigourney Weaver doing the narration. Looking forward to this one. As we said before, we're just, and it's nice that a Thursday, just a random Thursday launch, just, for Earth Day.
It's nice to be able to watch it without feeling pressured to watch all the other releases prior to the podcast. In this case, we'll just be like, I can throw this on and watch it, and then when Friday pops around, we can watch all the new Friday stuff.
Yeah, so speaking of Friday, so Friday, April 23rd, we've got Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is the finale, which is a shame. Kind of, we're talking about the finale when we've only just watched the first episode. Mighty Ducks Game Changers and Big Shot, so they'll be arriving. Along with, in the US and Canada, we're getting, this is just for the US. They're getting Puppy Dog Pow Season 3, Liv and Maddie Seasons 1 to 4, a new Disney My Music Story, Sam Switch, I think that's how you pronounce it. I know that's not how you pronounce it. So we've already had Perfume drop yesterday, and we had is it Yokai last month. So they're kind of following this idea of releasing these Disney Plus Japanese originals. I don't know why they're not releasing them everywhere else and just in the US. It's kind of quite funny. Being the Queen, a 1-hour documentary that they made last year, and then Baby's Day Out will be arriving in the US. Which is a very popular movie, considering it didn't do very well at the box office. A lot of people were excited about that one. What jumped out from the US list from your point of view?
Probably just the My Music Story, which I'm gonna guess is probably counts Tsukima Switch. They probably mixed Japanese and English in that one. That's just based on the strength of the other documentaries. I know nothing about Japanese music scene, and these have been a very interesting look into it. Not doing proper reviews of them, but they are interesting. And then Being the Queen, potentially interesting. I don't know anything about this one, but the
thing is with like, I think the thing is with this Queen one is I think it's actually good timing. Obviously, with everything going on right now, we've got the Crown and everything, so it's kind of be interesting, I think, for this to be widely available to everyone to kind of see what she does. Have a little bit of a history into the Queen, because she does. They do a lot of stuff that I don't know necessarily if we see it all the time on our local news and local things of what they're doing, whereas obviously you might not necessarily keep up with it. So it's always nice to have this stuff on there and just have a bit of different type of content. While in Canada, they will be getting looking here. So from the Star side, they'll be getting Baby's Day Out, Castle Seasons 1 to 8. A new episode of Grownish. They'll also be getting Seasons 1 to 3 of Happy Endings, Light It Up, Seasons 1 to 6 of Lost, and Solar Opposites will be getting a brand new episode from the second season. So will the UK. And then over in the UK, we will be getting some more content from Star, including a new episode of Next. And let's just bring this one up. Filthy Rich. They'll be getting Fozzie Verdon Season 1. That was an FX show. Morgan next, and there'll be another new episode of Dollface, a new episode of Big Sky. Dino Ranch, which is a very popular Disney Junior show that's just started recently. They just picked up distribution rights for that for some regions. Miss Peregrine's Home for Particular Children, which has only just come. Absolutely fabulous, the movie. I can't believe that that's on there. I mean, that's kind of definitely it's a British show that they turned into a movie, and just seems some of these choices just seem very strange to what is arriving. It's just like
I know absolutely nothing about that show. This is literally the first time I've heard of it. But I figure for a lot of these shows, because we've seen it on the US list too, where we're just like, you really you're gonna throw that out? It's just a matter of it's in 1080p or whatever. We've already got it upscaled. Just throw it out there. It costs us almost nothing to store it.
Well, this is the thing now, is it's all just a case of if they've got it, they're going to put it up there.
Mhm.
And I think they are buying up little things to put on there to sort themselves out. Makes sense. Things like Romeo and Juliet, if they've got the rights to the movie in every other country but the UK, well, maybe try and it might be worth kind of seeing if they can buy the rights or at least, do a small thing on them. So let's move now on to the last week of April, which is going to be Friday, April the 30th. So Adventures in Wonderland will be arriving in the US and Canada, which is a Disney Channel show from the 90s. A lot of people are excited about this one because I think they grew up on it. DuckTales Season 3, which is just finished in the US. Disney Junior Myra Detective, and then Oklahoma, which is always, I like having those things of having a little bit older stuff. So, and then obviously we'll be getting a new episode of Big Shot and the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. So what kind of jumped out to you from that week?
Well, DuckTales Season 3. I'm currently in the process of finishing up Season 2, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. And I've got a coworker who was, you wouldn't call it live tweeting, but he was going back and forth with us on Slack while he was watching the series finale, and just like, well, that sounds really, really good. It sounds like it's really entertaining.
Like a 90-minute finale, wouldn't it? It kind of really went out. Lots of characters and stuff in there.
And I've never seen Oklahoma, but it is a pretty famous musical, so I might check that at some point. Definitely not when it drops, but it could be a nice little background item. I forgot the Lone Ranger existed.
Well, the Lone Ranger is a bit of an odd one because this was one that wasn't on Disney Plus when it launched in the US, and if you look on the app, it was scheduled, and now it's disappeared, and it's no longer there. Now, I have a bit of a sneaking feeling that we might not see this one added to the US. I've kept it on the list on the UK because it was the announced date. But right now, both stars that are in it are kind of in some problems in the world. So I might not be surprised if this one doesn't turn up. I don't think they've taken it off. I'm just going to check the UK version. They might just sneakily just kind of drop it on there and not mention it. Because that wouldn't be at all surprising if they did. But I can see why they aren't going to announce that movie would be arriving on Disney Plus right now. It's still on the UK version, so I imagine they are just going completely silent on it.
Yeah, and they might kind of hope that a lot of the noise dies down by the end of April. But to be honest, I know some people really do like this movie. I have to say,
it's
okay. If no one ever mentioned it again, I wouldn't even notice.
I think it was on TV a few months ago, and I remember flicking onto it, and like half an hour later, still sat there watching it. It's fine, but like you said, they're either going to shadow drop it or it never happened. Didn't see it.
I'm thinking probably more shadow drop.
They did that with Mulan. They did that. And the dog with the blog. They've done it with some stuff in the past. So if they feel like there's a little bit of heat, they will. I don't know why there was any heat on. I don't think there was any on Dog in the Blog, but Mulan. They were in the US. They were quite. They didn't promote. In the UK, it was all over billboards and everything that it was on Disney Plus. But yeah, I think in the US they just kind of held off on that one. Looking here at some of the other content now in Canada. They're getting Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, I am so jealous that Canada's getting that movie. I love that one. I remember going to the cinema to see it. When that drops on the UK, I'm watching that one again. Definitely, we rented it with my wife, but we'll be watching that one. Actually, I don't know if she's seen it. She's been every time we went to try and rent it, she couldn't because she went off shopping and I went off. You know what? I'll go to the cinema. You carry on shopping. I can't wait for that one. So that one's good. They're also getting the Beverly Hillbillies. It didn't state, but I'm thinking it's going to be like the most recent movie which 20th Century Studios made, not the anime, not the series, because it would have said seasons. They're also getting Desperate Housewives seasons 2 and 8, Funny Bones, Oklahoma, South Pacific. Again, they're getting another classic one, and they're getting a new episode of Solar Opposites. Some other content as well. They're getting that's okay. They're getting all of that. That's fine. Whereas in the UK, they're getting Nomadland, which I forgot to mention is coming to Canada on April the 9th as well. So that's a big movie. I mean, dropping Nomadland onto Disney Plus in Canada and the UK in April, this thing's up for multiple Oscars. This one probably will win, although it's winning award. It'll be winning awards all over the place. I'm going to watch it when it arrives on Disney Plus because it's actually the kind of thing of I wouldn't spend any money on it. Oscar winners and all the rest of it, can't be bothered. Usually most of the time it's like, yeah, okay, they're okay, but arriving on Disney Plus, because ultimately the cinemas are still closed here then, so you couldn't go to the cinema, but it's like, okay, it's on Disney Plus, I can give it a go. If I don't like it after 20 minutes, I can turn it off. So I'm really, really glad that that one's arriving, because it's been really popular on out there in the US and stuff. Now, also, another Disney Plus original arriving, and this will be arriving everywhere, will be an assembled The Making of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that will be dropping on April the 30th as well. There'll be a new episode of the game Mighty Ducks Big Shot. And then there will be a new episode of Filthy Rich and Next and Dollface in the UK. Plus, the UK is also getting the first 5 episodes of Secrets of Sulphur Springs, episode 1 of Grownish, the White Fang 2. Well, I don't know why we're getting it too. It's really annoying. It's getting really annoying of how the release dates are all shuffled up of they're all a week apart, and it's just silly. Armageddon, the 25th hour, season 3 of 911 and Disney Junior Maya. So that's everything coming. So it's quite a packed week for the UK that week. But overall, really, you look at that list, Canada had a stacked week a month. The UK had one. The US is, even for the US without Star, has got a really nice lineup. And we obviously don't yet know what Australia's getting, but I'm guessing it's going to be quite packed as well. But yeah, just so much stuff. I'm just loving the idea that, to be honest, I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier would have been enough on its own to been a great month. Kind of January was a bit like that with WandaVision, wasn't it? It was just like there was, but it's really nice just to kind of have all this stuff, and just more classic content, because it's been a bit lacking. And I think Disney have realized that, and looks like they're putting some more effort into kind of getting some of this classic content out from the 90s and before, because it feels like they've been very focused on the more modern stuff. We're only really starting to get some of the 20th century bits and pieces, but it's just a really nice just to have these massive lists of stuff coming and show, and you actually have a choice. You sit there, like last night, we're sat there on the couch, and I turned to my wife and was like, "Oh, we'll fire up Disney Plus and see what's new. What show we know?" I said, "Well, we got, and they're going, well, we got Big Sky, we got I know it's like already seen Love Victor," and they're going, "Well, we can watch Next, or we've got something else that we can watch. We got some movies and stuff." And it was just nice that we've got stuff to watch on there together. It is. My wife still there just goes, "What's on Star tonight?" She doesn't want to know what's on Disney Plus too. It's just like, yeah. But yeah, what else kind of jumped? So out of all of it, what stands out to you?
Obviously Assembled. Looking forward to that, and I think it's just what I mentioned before, Disney DuckTales season 3. The rest of the stuff, I'm glad that they're putting Adventures in Wonderland. I don't have any nostalgia for it, but I know a lot of people were asking for it. I know nothing about Mira, but also does not look like I'm the target audience for it either.
No. Well, this is the thing, is there's this kind of weird thing of, I think now you've got the kids that are watching it now, my nephews and stuff, what shows they're going to watch. That's what and that's one thing. And then there's all these like nostalgia shows, which I'm sure probably Disney are going, the kids aren't going to watch it, but it will keep the old ones happy. And there is, like, I would say that, there's generations younger than us that are going, they want the shows that they grew up on. Because I feel like a lot of the shows that we grew up on have already been very, very well, the 80s and 90s seem to have been much more well preserved as they were going through. And like for me, it was like DuckTales, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Gummy Bears, Spider-Man, etc. They were there day one. It's almost like they were much better prepared for that, whereas the 90s stuff, they hadn't really bargained on some of this stuff, or maybe they didn't realize how popular they actually were.
I suspect it's more of an issue of what was available for them to use, because a lot of that stuff from the 80s and 90s, they had already been working on upscaling for DVD and Blu-ray releases, more and DVD, digital, yeah. But they had them ready, and that's because the people who would have been buying them had the money to buy them, whereas people in the early 2000s who grew up with those shows wouldn't have buying power yet. They're still mostly in at the time, mostly in high school. They don't have jobs, and if they do have jobs, they're not using it on buying kids DVDs. And now those people are starting to get nostalgia for the shows they ran up. They have the money to do it, but Disney Plus is here, and it makes more sense for it to be on Disney Plus. But they obviously want to have those shows because they're going to start having their own kids if they haven't already, and they're going to want to share what they grew up with their kids.
I don't think some of these are going to age very well. It's like everything.
It's also true.
Some of the shows age much better than others. I'm watching some of the trailers, but it's funny as well. Like the Disney Channel didn't exist here till much later than it did in the US, and it was a premium channel hidden away on Sky. So a lot of this stuff just didn't have that nostalgia thing, I think, for a lot of it. But yeah, it's just nice to see more content. I know there's a lot of people really excited. Personally, it's things like Oklahoma, and I think it's at the island at the top of the world. The 60s and the 50s stuff. It's like, we need more of that, especially hitting that 20th Century Studios lineup. There's so much content back there that's not being utilized. I think is a whole different audience, and I look at that as someone, would my parents watch that? That's what, they start going on, they go, oh, there's like 150 to 100 movies that I want to watch on here. There's a whole other audience, and this is the thing now with Disney Plus, as it continues to grow, it's just becoming bigger and bigger, and it's just going to have more broad appeal. And the recent talk of them realizing that half the adults don't have kids, and maybe pushed them onto the idea of going, yeah, we need to do a little bit more on this. I mean, obviously internationally they've kind of fixed that, I think, a lot with Star, but the US I don't think the teams had a great, they weren't having a great response to Star in the US, obviously, because makes perfect sense of people going, well, where's all our stuff? We're getting and it's hard to justify April, everyone having a pay, the price of Disney Plus has gone up and then not giving something. So there's always that other argument of going, have they revved up April a little bit to keep everyone sweet the fact the stuff's arriving?
Yeah, I mean, you can go with the price increase in the UK and other markets because, like, hey, look, we just dropped a whole bunch of content on here that it's worth your dollar. And in the States, like, but we already had all that content, and it's not on Disney Plus; it's in Hulu. And it's like, yeah, it's a bit harder to sell that pill, as it were. At the end of the day, we do have the big content coming, though. Falcon and the Winter Soldier here, Loki's right around the corner. All these fun things. So yes, we're not getting 15 seasons of Criminal Minds, but that's because we already have it, just not on Disney Plus.
No, this is the thing, is it's going to be a big changeover. I did find, like, I mean, I've mentioned, obviously, like, when I'm organizing all the different, like, articles and stuff, and like keeping tally of what's on everything when I'm doing the videos and so on, I'm much more aware of things like Baby's Day Out has got 3 different release dates. That's the kind of thing of like, guys, can you just kind of get this on page of like, can you reorganize yourselves a little? It was like Love and Corona. Canada was getting a week earlier, and then suddenly it shifted back a week. It's like, White Wolf, put it on the same area, all 3 areas at the same time. Just try and get everybody on the same page. If you're going to put out a movie, try and be at least a little bit universal in terms of how, some things you can't be helped, but it does feel like it would make my life a lot easier from social media point of view, because there's a lot of confusion over things like, like Australia got like DuckTales and the UK got half as season 3 of DuckTales this week. It does cause more confusion if you can try and get it in line. I mean, it's like Secrets of Sulphur Springs. Everyone, Canada's doing one thing, UK's doing another. It's like, and then especially for us, we're going, we don't even have the Disney Channel, so why was it delayed? There was no channel to it's just, I think they've got to iron out some of the Greeks and just try and work some of those things out. And again, there's loads of stuff that's coming to America and Canada that England isn't getting straight away. And you're like, well, why aren't they getting like Oklahoma? I mean, it's not like it's so like Adventures in Wonderland. Well, that's not on any platform. So why? I don't know, just annoying. Hopefully things will get, because usually as well, it's more things get added a little bit later on. So that's always a good thing. But so there we go. So that's everything coming in April all over the place. There's been lots of news and stuff about shows and stuff, but we don't want to really go too much into that one. Let's jump into the big one this week. What have we been watching? And then we're going to jump into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What else have we been watching before that one?
So I watched Monsters Incorporated.
Yep.
And we're not going to talk about that now. You guys have to wait a while for us to talk about that one.
We've been
as I previously mentioned, DuckTales season 2. I'm about halfway through that, so I'm looking forward to finishing that off and getting DuckTales season 3. And I have not yet started, but it's next on list is Big Hero 6 season 3, which dropped very recently. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that's what I've been watching this week. Also, I have been finally getting all of my furniture from the move, so that's why I finally have stuff behind me.
Yeah, so for me, I've been watching a lot of movies for future retro ones. I kind of before the lockdown kind of breaks, we're like trying to get a little bit sorted, and I watched both 4 movies this morning. That was kind of how to get ready for Loki, which I forgot actually some of the stuff that happens in these movies. But also, again, the Star Originals, Love Victor, Solar Opposites. You know, we've enjoyed Next, so we've been enjoying that show. Watched a few things that we'll talk about next week. And also, I think just as a whole, I'm trying to think. I tried watching quite a few different series this week. I'm just going around, just like sampling different episodes of shows. I'm going, well, what's that one? And what's that one? I've not seen that one. So that's been quite cool. But it's again just having some more choice. But obviously, the big one, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What did you think of this episode in a nutshell?
So let's just be clear up front. There are spoilers, guys, if you don't want to be here.
Well, the thing is, right, and this is the thing, and I had this in our group chat with the mods on the Facebook group. It didn't really feel like that. It's like there wasn't really any spoilers.
No, there's some minor ones, but I still feel like we need to make sure people know if you want to go into Falcon and the Winter Soldier completely clean, we will be talking about things in it that, I mean, this is not WandaVision. This is not. This is not. You need to see it for yourself. There are some towards the end of the episode, but in any event, yes, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. From this point forward, I had a great time with it. In terms of plot, it is moving a little bit slow. Not WandaVision first 2 episodes slow, but it's still, we get to the end of the episode and it really feels like the plot is only just starting at that point. But that's fine. It's 6 episodes and they're longer episodes. These aren't the 20-minute, 30-minute WandaVision early episodes. And it opened with some great action scenes. Definitely the kind of action scene you would expect from a movie, not from a television show.
Yeah, I mean, that Falcon fight, that was full blown. That was not a typical kind of TV show, was it?
No, I mean, even top end action TV shows, you wouldn't see this kind of thing. This isn't something you'd see on 24, even if they were doing it right now. MacGyver. I don't know what the other action shows at the moment are. The only problem I had with that action sequence was the main villain of it, of course, is Batroc, who we saw back in Winter Soldier. I'm like,
Johnson, because he's a UFC fighter. I guess I know him from UFC.
But it's like, but like this whole fight sequence of them like jumping between helicopters and skydiving and stuff is like, this isn't really the kind of action scene you use Batroc for. But I know we will get him back later in the series, where we will probably get proper martial arts style fighting. But still, it was a great action scene to open with, set the tone. It really had a feel very similar to that opening action scene of Winter Soldier when they jump onto the boat and fighting their way through the hordes of bad guys, and then finally getting up to Batroc. And it was even a rescue mission. They were both rescue missions, so good feelings.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this whole episode. I enjoyed that it was a bit slower. I enjoyed that it kind of felt a little bit like Falcon's origin story. It was like his origins, because I felt like we learned more in this episode about him than we did in, like, he's been in 4 Marvel movies, and we've found so much more about him in this. And I really thought that was a good thing with this one.
I think we talked about that a bit in the retro review for Winter Soldier, where Falcon really has not had character development in the movies. Like almost everything we know about his character was from Winter Soldier. Civil War, he was really just tagging along. Obviously, Infinity War and Endgame really weren't character movies for anybody. They were no, they were action movies. And
Yeah.
and then obviously Ant-Man, he was just a cameo. Nope.
Yeah, I just really like this whole thing where they it just took it, they slowed it down, they just made it much slower to the point of, and I really like that. And I didn't feel like the ending came up and was like, oh, not that typical thing with WandaVision where it was like, oh no, we gotta wait. And then from there it was like, no, I really like that. I and it was, and also taking a little bit longer with Bucky, giving him kind of a little bit longer. And I think that was a good thing. I think, him kind of trying to make amends for everything was exactly what we needed. And I think it set the pace, and I think it worked perfectly with regards to setting the expectations after WandaVision. No, this was supposed to have been 6 months before it. I think that actually helped do that, of maybe remind everyone, no, we're back in MCU world here. We're not in some people, I know there's a little bit of grumbles I've seen so far on the things that have gone, it's a bit slow. It's like, this is the point of the TV series, is to allow them this flexibility to kind of tell the stories that they would not do. Falcon, I don't think they would do would they do a Falcon and the Winter Soldier movie? I can't imagine they would do. They might have done, but it would no way would have been I'm not going to say a 6-hour movie, but this one's probably going to be close to about 4 hours, maybe by the end of it. And yeah, I love the fact that they just hit the brakes, pull back a little bit, gave us much more time with Bucky to kind of explore his, and I love the fact that him being like 100 plus years old and out of time, because they never really pushed that with, we had it a lot with Captain America, but we never really got that with Bucky, where he's not in the right time zone. He's out. He might have been out running around, but he wasn't free, and he still acts like he's in the, he's in the 40s.
Yeah, I appreciated that as well. Because again, like Falcon, we don't really have much character development for Bucky in the proper movies. There's plenty of stuff from the 1940s or in the late 1930s, when before Captain America becomes Captain America. But once he's the Winter Soldier, his story is entirely focused on, can he break the training? Can he break the programming? And to see him going on this date and being like, I have no idea what we're going to talk. And even the woman commenting like, "Oh, flowers, how throwbacky!" And it's like, I saw him walk on screen with the flowers. And it's like, oh, okay.
But then again, if he hasn't been on a date since like 1936 or something like that, or 38 or whatever, I can imagine that. And I like that. I like that thing of just making him human. Him doing the fact that he has to go through therapy, because that's part of his pardon, that he needs that, which obviously he does, because he's on his own, but he's having nightmares. And it's just the fact that they're making friends with the guy, the guy of the one that he killed, and he's obviously
the father of the one he killed.
Yeah, he's kind of like, you can see he's torn on it, and he doesn't, but at the same time he's kind of become attached to him, like he wants that friendship.
Yeah, he does not want to admit to that guy that he was the reason his son is dead.
Yeah.
And it's not just, I feel ashamed for the action, although there's certainly some of that. It's I don't want to hurt this father again. And obviously, I don't know how big a plot point it will be throughout, because I'm not sure how that one will tie in. But just like, say, Civil War, where they opened with the scene of him killing 2 people who we didn't know who they were at the time, I suspect that particular execution will come back as another plot point. But yeah,
I was going to say, another thing I really liked was the fact that they registered on the fact that superheroes aren't all billionaires, and Sam's got, he's I don't think he's hard up for money in the same way, but he needs money. He's been on the blip. His sister's really been struggling, and they're not on money. They're not being paid. Because I think really in the Marvel world, and I think also DC, kind of Bruce and Tony Stark can always just kind of pay DC and Marvel out of the problem. Whenever there's a problem, any problem that comes up, they can kind of, like Oliver Queen was kind of the same thing. They can kind of just, any problem that would have come up in the real world kind of just gets vanished, or just Tony paid for it, or and this was like the kind of thing of, while Falcon did mention to like Stark Tech, they don't have Tony's money. Tony isn't around. Tony's not going to help them. And that's kind of, I thought that bit was interesting, that whole aspect of them playing on the money side of things, because it's not really something they've explored much in the MCU.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the Marvel universe, the comic universe, it is a common plot point that Tony pays the wages of the Avengers. Now they're not getting paid like millionaire money, but they're getting enough that they can live in New York, which is where they're based out of. And even in the comics, the Stark Foundation existed to be like, yeah, we destroyed half the city in our battle with such and such Ultron or whatever, but the Stark Foundation will pay for all the damages and rebuilding and everything like that, and they just kind of like hand waved away all the terrible destruction that was wrought. They don't. There's that brief scene in Age of Ultron where he's like, buy the building, and then crashes through it, but that's really about the extent of it in terms of him throwing his money around.
Well, I think Spider-Man was the one that kind of hit me more, was because Spider-Man, obviously, he's always been just
broke.
Getting money.
He's always been broke.
He's always broke. So I think that took away some of the element when he kind of gave him, and he wasn't able to show his own special abilities of being smart. That kind of, and it was just an aspect of it, and him going to the bank for a loan and being turned down, I thought was just setting him up that he's not, I just really thought that was such a well done thing, something different, a slower pace that just never would have been in a movie. Just that whole storyline would have never been there. The sister never would have even shown up.
No, probably not. And it was a good scene too, because it also kind of showed how tone deaf that other guy was too. It's like, can we do a selfie? Yeah, but you're not getting the loan. It's like, dude, really?
I also like the whole thing that they're leaning in on the blip.
Yes.
Leaning much. Probably more. The only time really we've had that so far was the Monica Rambeau kind of origin episode, and then it kind of got dropped and we never heard from it again. I thought it was good that the sister was kind of really leveling that thing of like she was on her own, and then he's come back and everything's changed, and then pushing on the idea that the villains have changed because the rules have changed. And I kind of quite like this kind of, I don't think we even got into the blip. I think this show's really dealing with the blip, because obviously it would have been the first thing we saw after Black. That would have, and I'm just loving that whole aspect. It's kind of like, we're having different stories, and that's what I want. That's what's entertaining.
And one thing I appreciate is, even though this was originally not going to be the second Marvel show, the fact that it is now actually makes sense, because WandaVision happened only a couple of weeks after everybody came back. And this one comes a couple of months, and we're kind of seeing how real life is returning in the post-blip environment. But it was weird seeing things like, well, you have no job history for 5 years. It's like, well, why do you think? So
it's and of course the computer systems, they're not lending out money because they just lost half of it. I enjoyed that whole aspect. I enjoyed this. I almost like take that little bit of time with all these little things that usually just we wouldn't have had time. And again, the benefit of the TV shows, you kind of got time for that to sink in, to ponder between it all. There's no kind of big thing of going, what's happening next? There was a whole other thing obviously going on with Captain America, and the foreshadowing and the problem the Falcon couldn't accept being Captain America, handed the shield back because basically America wanted a new poster boy, which let's be honest, we know is not going to turn out great, because it's just how it's going to be. We knew he was going to turn up. I do have how that guy looked down that camera on that opening scene. I sent you over this picture of Carl from Up, and I haven't been able to. I just looked at him and he just looks like an old man with no teeth, and it just looked like I just didn't like the look of him. I know he's in it's that kind of thing. Obviously, it looks bad, and we can see Falcon he's upset. He can't believe that they've done this. I mean, we all know he's going to get the shield back at some point because we've seen the trailer with him playing, practicing. So it's not like it's a huge surprise. But how is he going to get it back? How is that all going to work in? We've not, and they've kind of been saying something's going on because there's obviously a super powered villain running around somewhere. But it was all very low key, all just tones, just little bits, really setting this. And I really like that. I kind of got to the end of the episode going, "Ooh, I don't know where this is going. I like where they're going, but it kind of ended, and I was like, cool, let's get ready for next week. It wasn't like, oh no, what they're doing there. There was no cliffhanger. I mean, I suppose there was with him walking out, but it kind of it's like, well, it made sense as a cliffhanger.
If you knew that John Walker was going to be in this series, if you'd seen the trailers or whatever, then yeah, it's not that big a thing. If you went into this blind, you might not have known that they were going to do that the American government was going to do a recasting of Captain America. Although it's happened several times in the comics. There's been a Captain America even when Steve was on ice. But yeah, I don't think good things are going to happen to Mr. Walker here. And there's a question: does he have superpowers at all? Like, does he have because in the comics he does, but the serum isn't as good, and it kind of drives him a little wonky. But we don't know if that's going to happen this time around.
This is the other thing as well. Of what gets me with Falcon is, he's fighting away in that ship in the plane, and they go, well, he doesn't actually have any superpowers. No, he's just very well trained, but he was kind of a little bit like super powered. He seemed a little bit overpowered for fighting the crooks. And because in the comic books, he's got he can't talk to birds, and he does have super abilities.
He can talk to birds, and I think he's a little bit stronger. You could probably argue that his suit being Stark Tech maybe augments his strength a bit, so he can punch a little harder than a regular guy could. But I think it's mostly just he relies on momentum. He can go really fast because he's got a jetpack on his back. But yeah, we'll see how things play out with that. And then of course, we've also got the Flag Smasher storyline going on, which only just started towards the end of the episode. And we know at least one other villain that's going to be involved from the trailers, Baron Zemo, who was in Civil War. He did, as far as we know, he did not show up in this episode unless he is Flag Smasher, which wouldn't really make sense. But
No.
But we've got that, and then Batroc will be back at some point.
Yeah, it definitely. I also like the fact that Rhodey was in this episode.
yeah. Not in WandaVision like he told us we would be, but he's here in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It was a little bit like, dude, you got the wrong show.
But it was good to see him.
Yeah,
I hope we see him again. Even if it's set up for Armor Wars, or even if he just shows up at some point, either as War Machine or as Rhodey. Yeah, it's good to see him.
It's that thing, isn't it? Because I'm sat there watching it, and I'm going, and I felt like I forgot we were watching a TV show. I kind of slid into where I'm watching the movie, because it felt much more like a Marvel movie. I think, with the characters all jumping in, Rhodey and all the rest of it, and it wasn't just referencing what happened, it was a full-on continuation. Because WandaVision didn't set that, because we had that whole sitcom vibe. It played on it being a sitcom, so therefore it kind of, we're watching television. Whereas this one was like, no, we're actually just watching it. I felt like I was watching a movie.
Yeah, no, this was absolutely a movie that got turned into a television show. This is not a made-for-television movie meant to shore things up. And I think it's only going to get crazier. It's only going to get more action-packed as we go along. I fully expect that at least one good action scene per week, and probably when we get towards the finale, more than that. This is movie quality.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting things to start picking up pace a little bit later on the season. I mean, 6 episodes. I think it's a good length. And we're going to get used to that kind of thing. But yeah, just overall, just really impressed, really happy with it. And it's like, I did say this on the group. They go, you remember when we had like Mandalorian and we had to wait 10 months for the next episode? And like, here we are with Marvel. We had to wait 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's all we had to wait for some more MCU content. And we know that when this one's over, there's no drought. There's no, we've got a few weeks off till Loki, but we've got Black Widow in the middle of it. This is just really great. And it just instantly starting to make that thing of feeling like Disney Plus. I mean, when I'm in the wreck car, we literally took the dog for a walk. On the radio there and back, adverts for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Turn the TV on. The bus goes by. I mean, the whole of the London Eye was done up like the.
I saw that picture. Yeah,
I was just like, great. I mean, I'm not at all kind of in that zone of feeling like I've got this massive, great big Captain America shield right behind me, from which is actually from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier thing. Not that it looks any different, but the box said it at least.
Yeah. No, like speaking like totally tangentially, like I was not interested in any of the WandaVision merchandise or anything like that. I could definitely see at least keeping an eye on stuff from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, oh yeah, that'd be a cool little thing to have, floating back here or on the wall or something.
I would say as well, if you're onto that thing, I did order the full set. This is the only one that's arrived so far, is Falcon. It won't stand up. It's really annoying. It's just it will not stand up.
For those of you listening, it's a bobblehead. Or a Funko bobblehead.
It will not stand up, and it keeps falling over, so that's why I got to put taken off display. But yeah, I think we're like, the thing is, Marvel is doing a kind of Marvel must-have, which they do every Monday, where they announce a new load of, and it's like they are loving these weekly episodes because they can stretch out this content so much more. But yeah, really happy with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Really, I mean, I gave it like 4.5 out of 5 because I ended it and went, that was great. I really enjoyed it. Couldn't give it 5 because it was like it could, it could have.
It's kind of like, I don't want to give it 5 because I want to save the 5 for some of the later episodes, and obviously we haven't seen them, but I'm fully expecting that at some point there will be like maybe the penultimate episode, maybe the finale, where you're just like, this is
always that kind of thing. I'm gonna give it 6 out of 5. You need that like next level, so you gotta kind of keep it back. But yeah, really enjoyed it. But let us know in the comments below and on social media and stuff how you felt with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember as well, thank you for joining us on this week's show. You can subscribe on YouTube, you can subscribe on audio platforms, join our Facebook group. You can also sign up on the website for our newsletter, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, etc. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon. Laters.